Imagine walking outside alone, and suddenly a massive object crashes down right in front of you. You walk closer, expecting to see a rock, but instead, you find a man in a black robe. This is Satan, once known as Lucifer. He had everything a man could want: wisdom, beauty, and power. But Lucifer wasn't satisfied. He wanted more, a higher power, but that desire would one day cost him his own life. Before humans existed, the universe was a massive, quiet space of spirit and light. Heaven was the center of it all, crowded with millions of angels. These weren't fluffy creatures with wings. They were living spirits of intense power, speed, and intelligence. God organized them into different ranks, giving each group a specific job to keep the entire heavenly kingdom running in perfect harmony. Among all these millions of spirits, God created one angel who stood far above the rest. His name was Lucifer. Lucifer's name meant the light bearer, the morning star. When God made him, he gave him the highest and most important job a created being could ever hold. Lucifer was appointed as the main guardian angel of the throne. His job was to stand right next to the presence of God and lead the entire kingdom in worship. Because he stood so close to the ultimate light, Lucifer was completely covered in a brilliant glow and decorated with beautiful, flashing gems. Furthermore, his voice was unlike any other. When he spoke or sang, it sounded like an entire orchestra playing in perfect sync. For a very long time, heaven was completely peaceful. There was no sadness, no anger, and no jealousy. Every day followed a perfect rhythm. Lucifer would lift his voice to start a song. The millions of angels would join in. A massive wave of praise would hit the throne, and God would look upon his creation with delight.
Millions of angels would join.
But then, something inside Lucifer began to change. Every time Lucifer walked by, he could see himself. He started spending more and more time looking at his own reflection. He noticed how beautifully his gems caught the light of the throne, making him flash with brilliant colors.
I truly am magnificent.
He listened to the incredible tone of his own voice and realized it sounded better than any other angel's voice in existence. He felt the immense power vibrating through his spirit. Instead of looking at the throne and thinking, "Look how great my Creator is," Lucifer started looking at his reflection and thinking, "Look how great I am." The beauty that was given to him as a gift became a trap. He became incredibly proud. He looked at his own wisdom and talent and used them to fuel his own ego. He started to think that the praise he was leading shouldn't go past him to the throne anymore. He thought the music should stop at him. Inside his mind, away from the eyes of the other angels, a secret ambition began to grow. He didn't want to be a servant anymore, even if he was the highest servant in the universe. He wanted to be the master. He wanted the throne. He wanted the crown, and he wanted the worship. But Lucifer was smart. He knew he couldn't just walk up and attack God by himself. God was all-powerful, and a one-man attack would end instantly. If Lucifer was going to make a real move for the throne, he needed an army. He needed a massive number of angels to back him up so he could overwhelm the kingdom. So the light bearer decided to become a politician. He started sneaking around the different areas of heaven, visiting the various ranks of angels in secret. He used his beautiful voice and his incredible intellect to twist the truth and plant seeds of doubt. He would find a group of angels working in their assigned stations, sit down with them, and act like a concerned friend. He would say things like, "Why do we have to follow all these strict rules day after day? Look at how strong you are. Look at your power. Why does the Creator get all the credit and all the worship, while we do all the hard work? Don't you want to see what else you are capable of?"
Let me show you.
He was very convincing. He didn't sound angry or evil. He sounded like a brave leader who truly cared about their freedom. He told them that God was holding them back from their true potential. He promised them that if they joined him, he would eliminate the rules, give them higher positions, and grant them total independence. He went to the warrior angels first. These were the strongest spirits, built for power and execution. "You have the power to rule worlds," he whispered. "Why do you allow yourselves to be treated as simple gods? Join me, and you will be generals in a new kingdom." The warrior angels listened, and some of them felt a spark of ambition they had never felt before.
Power into their ears.
Next,
Follow me.
Lucifer went to the angels of wisdom and knowledge. He told them that God was keeping secrets from them, limiting what they were allowed to understand. True wisdom means having no boundaries, Lucifer argued. "If you stay here, you will only ever know what you are told. If you come with me, we will explore the deepest mysteries of existence on our own terms." These intelligent spirits began to question their purpose, looking at Lucifer as a champion of free thought. Day after day, week after week, Lucifer kept up the secret campaign. His whispers spread through the valleys and mountains of heaven like a slow, contagious disease. He went from group to group, carefully picking his targets, finding angels who were easily flattered or who wanted more recognition. He created secret meeting places in the far reaches of heaven where his growing number of followers could gather to complain about God's laws and plan their next moves. Slowly, the beautiful harmony of heaven began to crack. The daily songs of praise felt heavier and less genuine. A strange tension filled the air, and a division started to form that had never existed since the beginning of time. Angels who used to work together in perfect unity now looked at each other with suspicion. The loyal angels could feel that something was wrong, but Lucifer was so clever that he kept his tracks covered, always pretending to be the faithful worship leader whenever he was near the throne. In the end, Lucifer's plan worked perfectly. 1/3 of all the angels in heaven believed his lies. Millions of powerful spirit warriors turned their backs on their creator and swore their total loyalty to the morning star. They stopped looking at the throne for guidance and started looking entirely to Lucifer for their orders.
Secretly built.
Lucifer looked at the massive army he had built in secret. He saw millions of shining spirits ready to fight and die for him. He saw commanders, warriors, and thinkers all standing under his banner. He decided he didn't need to hide in the shadows or whisper in secret corners anymore. The time for talking was over. It was time to make his move and take what he believed was rightfully his. Lucifer stepped out onto the open golden expanses of heaven. He walked right past his designated guard post, pointed his finger directly at the throne of God, and declared war. The sound of his defiance echoed across the entire spiritual realm, shocking the heavens. On the other side of heaven, the loyal angels didn't hesitate. They quickly moved into action to defend the honor of their king. Their leader was Michael, a fierce, quiet, and completely faithful archangel.
Heaven belongs to the Most High.
Michael didn't have the flashy jewels that Lucifer had, but he was clothed in the unyielding power of God's justice. He blew a mighty horn that signaled the gathering of the righteous hosts. Behind Michael stood the remaining 2/3 of the heavenly host. They formed a massive sea of shining light, ready to drive the rebels out. The two sides faced each other on the grand plains of heaven. On one side stood Lucifer, full of pride and arrogance, backed by millions of rebel angels who wanted to take over the universe. On the other side stood Michael, calm and resolute, backed by a massive army of loyal servants. The contrast was sharp. One army fought for self-glory and pride, while the other fought out of pure love and loyalty to their creator. The silence broke and the two armies charged. The battle that followed was wild, chaotic, and terrifying. Because angels are spirits, they didn't fight with iron swords, shields, or wooden chariots. They fought with raw spiritual energy, pure force. Lightning crashed across the sky continuously, and the very foundations of the spiritual realm shook violently as the two massive forces collided. The sky above heaven turned into a swirling storm of bright gold and deep, dark purples as the opposing energies slammed into one another. Lucifer fought with a desperation fueled by pure rage. He truly believed his own hype. He believed he was smart enough and strong enough to win. He tore through the lines of the loyal angels, desperately trying to cut a path straight to the throne so he could rip the crown away from God. His fallen angels fought right beside him, striking out against their former brothers with dark, twisted energy. Lucifer himself was a whirlwind of destruction, using his immense power to blast away anyone who stood in his path. But Michael and his army stood like a solid, unbreakable wall of fire. They didn't move for fame or power. They moved with the weight of absolute truth behind them. No matter how hard Lucifer pushed, no matter how much rage he poured into his attacks, he could not force them to give ground. Every time a rebel angel struck, the loyal angels answered with a counterattack that was fueled by the very strength of God. Michael was fighting with the direct authority of the Creator, and that power was impossible to beat. The simple truth of the universe was asserting itself. A created being can never defeat the mind that created him. The war raged on across the heavenly plains, lasting for what felt like ages in the spiritual realm. The ground was torn apart by the sheer force of the clashing spirits. But slowly, the tide began to turn. Lucifer's immense strength began to run out. His brilliant mind turned to confusion as his strategies failed, one by one. Lucifer's rebel army started to realize they were losing, and panic began to spread through their ranks under the steady, crushing advance of Michael's forces. The confidence they had when they were listening to Lucifer's whispers vanished when they faced the raw reality of God's justice. The rebel lines began to fracture. Warriors turned and ran, looking for a place to hide. But there was nowhere to hide in the open light of heaven. Finally, Michael found Lucifer in the middle of the chaos. The two greatest angels of heaven faced each other directly. Lucifer lunged forward with all the anger and hatred left in his spirit. But Michael bypassed the attack with ease. With the authority given to him by the king, Michael delivered the decisive, crushing blow. Lucifer was completely defeated. His rebellion was broken, his weapons were shattered, and his lines completely collapsed. The gates of heaven flew open, and Michael drove the rebels toward the edge. Lucifer was physically thrown out of the kingdom. The entire universe watched in absolute silence as the highest angel fell from the sky like a bright flash of lightning. As he fell farther and farther away from the throne and the presence of God, his appearance began to change drastically. The beautiful gems that decorated his body cracked, shattered, and turned into dull, black coal. The musical instruments built into his voice broke, turning his beautiful melodies into a twisted, screeching wail of eternal hatred and regret.
Once made him beautiful.
He was stripped of everything that made him beautiful, leaving behind only the ugly reality of his pride. A heavy, suffocating darkness wrapped around him as he tumbled through the stars, crashing down into a deep, empty abyss, completely separated from the glory of heaven.
Like dying stars.
His millions of rebel angels rained down right behind him, falling like a shower of dying stars into the dark void below. The fall felt endless, a physical representation of how far they had dropped from grace. Up in heaven, the air instantly became pure, clean, and peaceful again. The dark storm clouds of rebellion cleared away, and the golden light of the throne shone brightly across the landscape once more.
From the heavens.
The tension vanished entirely. The loyal angels cheered, celebrated, and burst into magnificent songs of victory. The harmony returned, sweeter and more powerful than ever before, because the prideful distraction was gone. The ranks were closed, and heaven was made whole again. But deep down in the dark, empty places of the lower universe, Lucifer landed. He was no longer the light-bearer. He was now Satan, the adversary. He was the devil. He sat in the darkness of the pit, bruised, battered, and completely stripped of his glory. He looked up at the distant, unreachable light of heaven, and his heart filled with a deep, permanent hatred. He knew his beauty was gone forever. He knew his power was limited, and he knew his final destination was total destruction. The realization of his failure drove him insane with bitter anger, but he wasn't going to stop fighting. His pride wouldn't let him admit defeat even now when he was broken and cast out. He gathered his fallen angels around him in the dark, organizing them into a new kingdom of shadows. Since he knew he could never go back to heaven and could never defeat God directly in a physical fight, he formulated a new, wicked plan. He decided he would look for God's next creation, the human beings made of dust and earth. He knew how much God loved them, and he knew that God had special plans for them to rule over the physical world. Lucifer decided he would target them. If he couldn't hurt God's throne, he would hurt God's heart by tricking his human children into falling into the darkness with him. He swore an oath in the dark that he would destroy everything good that God made. He would use the same lies that worked on the angels, promises of false freedom, pride, and independence, to trick humans into turning their backs on the Creator. And so, the star that was meant to lead the morning chose to become the king of the night, spending the rest of history trying to drag the rest of the world down into his final ruin. The rebel who wanted to sit on the highest throne ended up at the absolute bottom, a warning to the entire universe that nothing can stand against the throne of the Most High.